All right, I'm going to show what I did for Milestone 3. I hit a couple hiccups, but I accomplished a lot. All right, so here, the able to collect items for inventory. I had added into the player component so that when weapons are collected or dragoons are collected, that's getting stored in the player component. I'll quickly show that. I also have it set up so every time the player enters basically a portal and goes to a different part of the screen, he uh, he ends up it loads other pieces in there. So I have here where I can get and set health, and I can add health, um, and I have that displayed on a HUD, and I'll show that. Same with the dragoons and adding a weapon. I can add a weapon and then I can check for that for the controls. So you're not able to try to use anything without collecting it. Um, what I've done though is I have these methods for like set load weapons. That one's not set up yet, but for the other ones. Load camera X, load camera Y, load lerp. Those are only called when a player, right before a player gets ready to change an area. So that's kind of giving like a short save point for him that I can eventually tap into and use that for reloading where he was and what his current health was. Okay, so um, able to collect items, and I'll show can collect dragoons, hearts, and swords and potions right now. The camera is lerping now, so when a player is getting ready to move into another area, it's checking if it's able to lerp, and if it is, then it lerps. Also lerps the player too, so it looks a little bit more like Zelda. Okay, on the HUD, I have a basic HUD. I'm still kind of deciding if I want to end up having it in landscape mode instead of portrait and having the screen much bigger, and then maybe having the HUD actually overlay the screen because it just doesn't look as good as what I want right now. Right now, I have two separate screens where I'm passing information to the second screen for the HUD for what gets displayed. Um, so it is doing the health when he collects health, hearts, and potions. It's bringing his life bar up when he gets hit. It's lowering it down, and it's generating for the dragoons. The purchase not set up yet. That's here. I'll talk about that. Assets for sounds. I have all sound assets. The only ones that I'm not really happy with are the roving NPC and static NPC talking sounds. When I was using BFXR, ended up going too fast and kind of wigging out. And I'm going to have to change how I'm doing it because once they generate for them to start talking, they continue to talk, and then it does not pass the other sounds. Um, but I have that, and I've also added music. So I created 5 songs using beatbox.co for all the screens. Double tap for doing attacks. That's completely set up. Once she's collected a sword, I'll show that. Creates a prismatic joint with the sword, and then I can use it to attack in all 4 directions. And the sword is pointing the correct way. I did, this is milestone 5, but I did basically kind of set up like an observer type pattern. I have a system and a sound component where I can just pass in the sound to I'll just show it. The sound component. So right now, only the sword or the player own this, but I basically have different events for what I want to happen, and I pass the event into a queue, and then I'm removing it from the queue in the system here. So I have one place where I have all my sounds, sound effects, and music once the game actually starts. So I can call based off that event. I can pull the first thing that was added. So we're doing a FIFO. I can pull the first thing that was added and play that sound, and then just keep going through. So we'll just keep going through doing all of those sounds. So I don't really have anything sparsed in any other code other than just adding it to that queue. The dragon asset, I'll show you what I have. I'm trying to do a different type of animation. So instead of setting up where the dragon is doing like a normal animation, since he's going to be so big, I was going to animate each individual piece, but really having it as one texture and having it animate by using steering behaviors, rope joints or revolute joints, and having like the neck hook to the head, and then having it kind of snake around to attack the player, doing different types of stuff. I may end up changing that. It's I got it, and you'll see it once it shows up, but I have it where the head is facing the player, and then I can use it to attack, but getting him to back up while he's still facing, I can't do that with steering behaviors. So I may end up having to kind of rework that. The orb animation that's done, I have it placed in the first room so you can see what it looks like. But basically that's going to be set up to generate the end game screen once that's done, and it'll be put in the orb room. Okay, so for colliding with the dragoons and the weapons, that's all set up. What I don't have, and I'm coming into an issue, is trying to create a modal window for doing the dialogue. Instead of having it print straight to the screen, I wanted to have a window that was opening up, so when we get to the state for the NPC, the roving NPC or the static NPC, to start talking, then it would generate a dialogue window that the user can go ahead and decide if they want to purchase, and then that would be at the point when it's subtracting. For the static, it would be where it would then create that entity. So if they said that they wanted to buy a potion, then it's going to generate the potion in that area at that location. But I'm running into some issues because I built this without doing a stage, and that's what it's wanting. So I'm researching workarounds, so this is still going to be open. Okay, so let me show, and I'll have all the music playing and everything so you can hear it. So this is my loading screen. That's one of the songs. This is the main menu screen, song. If I click on credits, that would be the end game song. Really? It's not crashing earlier. Alright, so that's the orb. That's the dragon head. It's following me. I currently have it set where once I get too close, it's not following me anymore. So it actually is trying to escape from me. So I have, these are destroyables. I can't interact with them, only the sword interacts with them. So if I go to collect the sword. Now I can double tap. My sword comes out. Oops. And they get regenerated when I go back into a different area. So if I get hurt, so let's go battle some snakes. So my health gets regenerated. I do have, when I go to the dungeon, the music will switch correctly. This is my dungeon music. I still need to work a little bit on the AI. It's still not with them inside corridors. They don't like to move. And when I go back, it's going to change the music back. So that's how it's getting passed. I don't have where the player is dying yet because it's too hard to test why it's doing that. Hitting back brings me back to the main menu. Let's try the credits again. Okay, I'll have to figure out what's going on with that because I've made a couple changes. Anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I may still end up changing the animation back and just making him a large guy that ends up bouncing around. I don't think I'm going to do, if I do end up implementing that, I'm not going to do steering behaviors. I'm going to have more complex AI for the boss, but so I will be doing some states, but I will not have him trying to change like a lot of different animations. So I'm kind of playing around with it. But that's what I was planning on doing is I wanted to do some particle effects because I think that would be a good thing to show the kids for them to try out. So creating the particle effects and then implementing them for the fireballs. For when the dragon gets hit, I was planning on changing the state where he would evade the player. So I kind of showed that I can do that. And then for him lunging, if I kept it like this after I added the neck, I would tie that to a body that was outside of the screen. So then the neck and the head would be what's basically moving the entire body. Would lunge at the player. If he misses, then I could have it where he basically exposes his neck, and that's where he could be killed. So that would be his weak point. For dying, he would slowly leave the screen and disappear off the screen. I was also thinking of putting in some lighting, as I don't want it to be like full bright like that, especially for the dungeon. So kind of playing around with that idea. Additional things that I did during MileStone 3, I mentioned the sound system. I have a random generator for dropping dragoons or hearts. So either the dragoons that are worth only 1 or dragoons that are worth 5, or hearts, I have that generated of when it's going to actually happen. I created that music that I mentioned. I fixed the issue with respawning. So whenever I go outside of an area, anything that I have tagged for the group that they're in. So this roving NPC, I have him tagged as 1. When I hit this portal right here, which is because it's connected to this other area, I have 1, to let me know that I can lerp from here to here. Then this and any other entity that is that has 1 as the group number will be destroyed. And when I re-enter back in here into this area, then the current group, this group right here, 1, will get regenerated again. The stuff that I have that I don't want to be respawned, things like the orb, that's going to be only once. Me, the player, that's going to be only once. That will be manually done. And the dragon, that will be only once. The sword that we collected, that will be only once. But if I went back in that cave again, that potion will get regenerated. So I have basically everything happening through that collision system. So here, this is where I'm doing my random generator for generating for the different item drops, and that's only for the destroyable, and that's only, I can only collide with that with the weapon. So the sword, I can only collide with that, and that's how I can tell if I want to. So I also kind of played around with having a heavy sword that can be created, and that's kind of set up where now if I added that, it would change the behavior of the enemies faster because I can take away more life and change their aggressiveness. Also, that's the way that if the player wanted to, they could end up killing the NPC characters, but they'll get respawned once you leave and come back to that area. So my collisions for me, when I hit those destroyables, I just don't do anything. So I'm capturing that I'm colliding with those destroyables. I'm just not doing anything with it. And then when I here, this is where I'm if I end up colliding with a dragoon, then I'm checking to see what the value is, and I'm adding that to my player component. I'm adding the sound event that happened, and then I'm setting that thing to true so that it'll be destroyed by the systems. And then in my main game screen, it's currently set at the camera update. Here, this is the label that I have for the HUD. So, or not that. No, that is it. Okay, so this is my player component. I'm getting the value of the dragoons that I currently have, and then this is the label that I'm setting to display that, so that'll be correct. And then my health, this is what I'm using to do my health. Currently, everything is visible, all the hearts. Each heart is actually broken up into 2 pieces, and then I go through the entire list for my current health, which is 120, to determine which one should be visible and which one shouldn't be. This is how I currently previously had it, but then when I collected a potion, I wouldn't put it back, so I had to change that. And then here is for the lerping. I'm getting the camera information. I'm getting the if I should lerp or not, and then I'm calling to lerp. If um, if I did not have the lerp value of 1 and it was 0, then I'm just doing my lock on target. So then in my camera styles, um, I have to check the positions to see if I'm able to do it. And then I'm calling the actual lerp function. I just had to do it in pieces because what I was having an issue with was when I was colliding with the portals, it would freak out. So I have, if that place that I'm going to go to is, if it's a lerpable area, so this is if it's not a lerpable area. If it is, then I am setting basically a pause on the portals. So when I have the portal set like that, then in, I think it's in my render. Maybe it's my position. I forgot where I put it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So here in my position, if it's paused, then I'm lerping to that target. And when it's paused, I am setting the bodies of the portals to false. So this is where I can set it back, and I'm iterating through all of the bodies that I need to update the position. So if the type is a portal and I'm currently in pause, I set it to pause, and I'm just skipping over it. And then when I get in my update, when I get to generating the pause, I can do my lerp, which here is my method for doing my lerp to the point. So it's constantly updated until I get to that position, and then I can set it back to false once I'm done. So if I'm basically at the same point, I can set it to false, and then I get all the way to the end of the update and everything will work again. So the portals are activated after I've lerped. All right, so that's basically everything that I've done for this week. I had a lot more time accomplishing a lot more this week as my kids and my wife were out of the house for 4 days. So, yep, that's basically where I'm at. Thank you.